What's up, everybody? This is Miko the Entrepreneur. I am here with Xavier Hernandez.
Hey guys, how are you?
And today we are going to talk about management, how he got into management, how he likes management, will he stay in management in the future, just to get a little, information about him. So, Xavier, I have been doing DoorDash and Uber Eats in this area, and I see you often, like maybe 3 days a week.
Yes,
So
we do.
when I come in and I see you, I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever. And so we kind of like, you know, created a friendship. I would
Yep,
say, right?
yep.
Um, I really want this interview to, be like we're having a conversation. So Uh, let's start with not when you were younger, but let's start in your 20s.
Well, but probably what a 13-year journey since my 20s. But I can tell you that my life has been very, I'd say, organized. I've always been that, good kid, I would say. I started working way in my young teenage years. But I've always been that person that is always eager to learn new things, is always eager to grow. I can't stay in one place. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but I started working probably when I was 15, I'd say, and McDonald's was my first job. Um, Little after, I'd say probably when I was, when I became 18, that was when, I was able to jump into management. But ever since then, it's always been management. It's always been management. McDonald's first gave me the opportunity to become, um, let's say, a floor supervisor, you would say, or a shift runner. I'm not sure how, what the term is now. Um, but McDonald was the one that opened up that door for me. Um, it was a stressful job, believe me. It was very, very stressful. Um, Given though that there's certain, time frames that everybody needs to do this in this amount of time and things like that. But I've always learned to cope with pressure. And I think it has given me the ability to take it at ease, being under pressure, because most of my jobs, which has mainly has been in the fast food or fast or food industry. Um, but again, even though I would start from zero, I would work my way up into management levels or supervisor levels or things like that. I can say that in the trajectory of leaving McDonald's, I was offered a job as a dental assistant, which I tried. I took the offer. The dentist was actually one of my good friends, but it was a whole different scenario in the work field. I would go there. I would sit in a desk. I would wait for patients, or like do office work or computer work, but I still thought that it was not the job that I kind of wanted, because I was so used to the rush. I was so used to the flow. And then just sitting there on a computer was just like very awkward for me. I felt very, very awkward. Um, so it was not too long before I decided, no, I don't think this is a job for me. And though he was awesome, he was a great, leader and everything. He taught me a lot of things. But I just thought that it was not the job for me because of I guess all the tasks that needed to be done. They were just too boring, I'd say, for me, or too slow for me. Given though that I've already been used to the flow of, the speed of people coming in, coming out, taking care of them, taking care of their needs. Um, I needed that type of like adrenaline, I'd say, in a job, since I already got used to it. And so I decided to leave. And that's when I just decided to go ahead and jump into my new career, which is Chipotle. And I can't really say very bad things about it. I love my job. I love what I do, and management, I guess, is always going to be my number one priority to go to in any job. Even though I think I have, the overall experience of it. I have the years in the position as well, so it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but yeah, it's been in the food industry, restaurant industry, because I've also done serving, um, which I did like to as well. But now I'm at a position where I feel comfortable, and I don't think I'll be going anywhere. From my part.
Okay. So you mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned McDonald's. So compare McDonald's, and I know you went over a few things, but comparison with McDonald's and Chipotle. If you had to do it all over again and you had these two options presented to you and you knew nothing, which one you think you would choose between the two?
Um, Are you asking me based on like experience wise, or it's just a random? What if I had to
Just
choose, even though I have
yeah,
not worked the positions?
right. So random. Because when people hear McDonald's, they think, okay, low pay, you're not going to get paid as much. You're going to do a lot of
Yeah,
work. Chipotle, okay, you might get paid a little bit more. It's a different type of fast food, but
I
healthier. So, yeah,
I
which
do
one would
think
you?
if I okay, I do think that if I were to be given the option, not knowing what each position had held for me, or what's coming for me, I think I would have selected Chipotle. Just because McDonald's is very known, for being this fast food restaurant. Um, we know what they sell. We know what they're about. Versus Chipotle, it's more like, even though it's still in the fast food industry because it's still considered a fast food restaurant. Um,
Mhm.
Chipotle has more thorough ideas in regards to their menu, to their food, to their training, to their, like people relations and things like that, which kind of like have attracted me to really, really love the company. So
Okay.
I would select Chipotle.
Okay. So, I know we're going to get more into like the steps you took to get to the level where you are. But let's just say if the dental assistant would have worked out, maybe it wasn't boring because of whatever reason. Let's just say it played out and that was your position. And because you had the McDonald's prior to, right?
Hmm.
Would do you think it will still be something like kind of like poking you like you need to go back into the restaurant or food and beverage industry?
Yeah, I mean, I reference everything that I say and do. Based on my experience at each particular job that I've had. Like, again, I've had other jobs as well, but I don't know. Besides the fact that this dentist seeked for me and asked me if I wanted the position, knowing that I didn't have any experience or any degree or anything like that. um, I was very like touched by that. So that's when I was like, let me try it out. Let me see what it's about. Let me see if I like it. Because hey, a dental office compared to a fast food restaurant, you would think that, hey, this is a lot better. But you get
Mhm.
so used to the people, you get so used to the rush, you get so used to being under that pressure that it just didn't click for me just sitting in an office on a front desk for 8 hours, and just speaking to people over the phone or things like that. I needed, since again I already had that experience, I needed something sort of the same in order for me to have felt comfortable. And again, I was fine. I was treated very well. Um, but just that particular, you know, subject about just being in front of a desk and a computer for the whole entire day was just like, no, I don't think this is a job for me. Even though, in my head, I thought, hey, I'm working for a dentist. I'm working in a dental office. This is great for my resume. This is great for this. This is great for that. But it made it for me to be kind of boring, like I said, since I've already had experience, with that flow of people, and getting people in and out and rushing to do things and things like that. So I guess that just stayed with me, and I kind of took that thinking that it was going to be somewhat the same, but it turned out it was not, nothing compared.
Okay. So you mentioned working under pressure. So give me a typical day of working under pressure in McDonald's, and then give me a typical day working under pressure in Chipotle.
Okay, so McDonald's, I think it's working under pressure happens every single day. Um, whether it's making a sandwich, whether it's bagging up a sandwich, whether it's ringing up a customer. So there were time frames that were given to us, or that that we had to meet for every guest. So that kind of created somewhat pressure to go as fast as you can or do things as fast as you can, because you were being timed. So let's say, for instance, I would have a guest, and we would have 90 seconds to fulfill a guest order. When it comes to ringing it up, taking the order, and accepting the payment. Then, obviously, the food was drawn to the kitchen area. They also had, pressure within the time because they had this amount of time to create that sandwich. Then it goes down to the assembly line where that assembler had to bag up the food, or whether if it's for here to go. So every single day was a pressurized day at McDonald's. Now, compared to Chipotle, Chipotle gives us targets, I guess, throughout the day, yes, but it can be achieved throughout the entire day. It doesn't necessarily have to be within every guess. It's the goal that you're given to meet for the entire day, and you can meet it whether it's as soon as we open the doors or before closing the doors. So the pressure is a little off then, but again, the more you, I mean, I guess the faster you work, at Chipotle, for instance, the faster you work, the more you get achieved. Um, because that, again, that goal that they give us is, it's actually to kind of oversee your performance as a manager in the company, seeing how you would work under pressure. So it was not only pertain to the entire restaurant, but it was also something that was for me personally, because again, I do oversee the whole restaurant. So I'm the one that's gonna be, hey, you didn't complete your goal today, or hey, what happened today, that the goals were not met. So it's more like the pressure is on me, but compared to McDonald's, again, it was something that everybody was involved in. Um, and everybody was held accountable for it. So I think those are the two differences between the two locations.
Okay. So what is your educational background?
High school,
Just
high
high
school,
school.
and believe me, I'm not ashamed to say it, but I kind of thought of dropping out of high school on my 10th grade. Given though that I was like, I was working at the same time I was going to school. And then at school, I don't know if it was the school in particular or the type of teaching that they did at the school, but I was not okay with it. I felt that I was not learning what I needed to learn. So I was like, I think I'll just drop out and just, just focus on working, 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 working. So I did in fact drop out in 10th grade. But then I don't know, something came up in my mind. So it was like, you should have finished school. So I decided to go back to school and finish my high school diploma at least. And it was through night school. That
Okay.
way I was given the opportunity to, work during the whole entire day and then just go after to, finish up my school and things like that. And I did graduate in 2011, which was my graduation year. But yes, it was indeed through night school.
Okay. Well, congratulations on that. You probably don't hear that often, but a lot of people, they do, or they don't go back and finish because they feel like they're older. I don't want to say too old, but they feel like they're older. So I'm glad that you went back and say, you know what, I need to go ahead and finish what I started.
Yes.
I asked you about your education background because since you've been at Chipotle, have you seen a lot of, um, well, I guess management with higher ed, you know, degrees? Or are they more like you where you have a high school diploma and you work your way up?
Well, there's no structural like requisitions or recommend in reference to having any type of degree to work for the company. Um, but again, it all comes down to how you carry yourself at work because it starts from the interview process where you get interviewed. Um, hey, depending on how that interview went, let's give you a position, and then once you're given that position, it's on you to kind of like demonstrate what you're made of and what your capabilities are, and that's mainly what the company seeks. I guess working, you for corporate, in the sense that the higher positions, where there is HR or things like that, they might require that, which I'm not certain, but I doubt that they do because again, the opportunities are given to us for us to take advantage of, but it all depends on you, whether you have the capabilities to do things or you have the adaptation to adapt to new things and learn new things. And that's how, so far, it has worked for me in the company.
Okay. So let's just say you had to hire two people. You had one person with mm, 1 year of experience and a master's degree. And then you had another person with just 17 years of experience in various in the in the food industry. And I
Mhm.
know it depends on the person when you interview them and how well they pick up, or how quickly they pick up.
Mhm.
Which one would you lean against? And I know it's only two choices that I gave
Mhm.
you, but which one would you lean against?
Um, well, as I said, it all comes down to that meet and greet during the interview where you have to outshine, you have to sell yourself, whether it's for a job opportunity, whether it's for, whatever the case may be. I think that you should always be ready to give it your all. Um, so I look for the energy. I kind of try to seek out candidates that are, this outgoing, energetic. Um, Now, they might not have the full experience that the job might require, but that is no determination for me to say, no, you're not, capable of doing the job, or you don't meet the requirements for the job. It's more so, hey, this person has a great attitude. I think he's gonna be, this great part of my team, and I'm sure he's gonna adapt very well with everything that we teach him, and so on. So I don't think experience is required, even though, hey, if you have the experience, that's a plus. But it's not a determination for me to turn down a candidate just because they don't have this many years in the industry, or they don't have any experience in what we do, which is fast food, or the food industry. Um, it's mainly your personality, your characteristics, you know what makes you who you are, and how you adapt, or how you contribute that who you are into what we already have, which is our team at Chipotle.
Okay. Wow, interesting. So, when you came to Chipotle, what position did you come in at?
Believe it or not, I was a cashier when I first started at Chipotle. And just a little, probably refresher for me, this happened maybe about 13 years ago. Um, so yes, I started off as a cashier. I was given the opportunity to work in Virginia, which is where I used to live before moving down here to Florida. Um, so I started off as a cashier there. At the time, I guess every location had that minimum wage thing going on, but it didn't really matter to me. I was looking for the job. I liked what they offered, and so I went in and accepted the position. But once I got into that position, and the interaction with the guests, and seeing the flow of how the restaurant moved, because it was a busy restaurant at the location where I first started. It was very busy. So it really catch my eye. And I was like, wow, this is easier than what I thought it would be. So then they started giving me challenges to see if I can fulfill my challenges. And I did. I outshined, and then sooner, maybe I would say about 3 months within the position, I was offered that next level in the company, which was to become a kitchen leader. Obviously, different responsibilities, different everything. But when I did first start, it was as a cashier at the company, and ever since, I've been growing and growing and growing, moving my ways up, and here I am now.
So, as a kitchen leader, um, how long did it take to move? I'm trying to like paint like a picture.
Mhm.
So, of each level. So, as a kitchen leader, how long did you stay in that position?
So as I said in the beginning, it's all depending on the person, okay? Because I can be in the company for a year and still be in the position that I first started. But again,
Mhm.
I tend to move. I tend to reach for more. I tend to grab onto every possibility, of a chance of growing that I can have. Um, so that eagerness has led me to pay extra attention to what I'm being taught. So I started as, again, a cashier, moved my way to kitchen leader. As a kitchen leader, obviously I had to oversee the grill area, cook the food for the guests and things like that. But in my mind, learn everything that you have to learn. Work as efficient as you can, um, just like I did in my cashier position. So then I thought that, hey, if I was given the position of a kitchen leader doing what I do, let's do the same thing for the kitchen leader position so that I can go ahead and move on to the next one, which is the service leader. So it took me, I'd say, after I got promoted to become a kitchen leader, I'd say probably 2 more months in order for me to become a service leader. It was a fast, fast, fast. Uh, what is the term? Uh, it was a fast movement in the company that I had. But I guess my biggest challenge was when I did become an assistant manager, or what we would call apprentice, where I was in that same restaurant as an assistant manager. But that restaurant became one of the best Chipotle's in the company. So then they oversaw us. The company in general would select this restaurant to become one of the best Chipotles in the company. And obviously, the people that they would take to open up new restaurants would come from this particular restaurant. So that was like a chain in reaction that happened. And I think it still does happen because if you're classified as one of the best Chipotles, is because you have the structure, you have a game plan, you have everything running the way that it should be running. So the company would select individuals from that particular restaurant to bring on to new restaurants that they would, open up and things like that. It's a fast growing chain. So Chipotle has opened up many, many restaurants. So then when I was given the assistant manager position, we became that Chipotle on the block, I'd say. Um, so I was given the opportunity to move on to a new restaurant and help that restaurant become again one of the best Chipotles in the company as well. And I was given that task, fulfill that task because that restaurant also had a visit and they became one of the best Chipotles in the company. Um, it was maybe probably after two restaurants after my original one. So I guess a total of three restaurants that I worked with before becoming a general manager in the
Okay.
company.
Okay. And you're a general manager now.
I am a general manager now.
Okay. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Yes, I worked in different restaurants, but so coming in as a cashier, and I know it can be a fast movement, right? Depending on the person.
Mhm.
So you still have to go through the steps in order to learn. You just can't go like start at a cashier and just be an assistant manager. You have to go through, you have to be at least a kitchen leader and a
Mm.
service leader in between steps, correct?
Yes. So we're not gonna reject the possibility of hiring from from outside, coming in fresh to the company. But the idea is because even though like they would hire somebody from outside with no Chipotle experience, the idea is always going to be the same, whether they have to start off as whatever position, learn all the positions that need to be learned, and then obviously move your way up. You might get hired, for the position that they're looking for, which is whatever, let's say assistant manager, service leader, kitchen leader, or things like that. Let's say you get hired for kitchen leader. Even though you're going to get hired for a kitchen leader, you still have to learn what crew members need to learn in order to get that title or to get that position. So it's a work in progress. But preferably, yes, everything is done within, in-house, where the training is involved, for a particular individual, where they would start off in a position and then obviously demonstrate that they have the abilities on to take on a new task, and that's when the offer is given to them. Now some take it, some don't, but the people that do take it, again, they become experts on their station where they work or where they got hired for, and then they're ready to take on the next task. Now kitchen leader doesn't only mean you're going to be the kitchen leader, it means you have to be the one to also coach people, to delegate things to people, because now you're taking on a manager role. You're no longer a crew member. So yes, I went through all those steps, but I grew within the company.
Okay. So being a GM or general manager, uh, do you just have one store or do general managers have like multiple stores?
I have one store, one restaurant. Yes, I overlook
Okay.
and I oversee one restaurant with maybe I'd say 40 employees.
Wow, that's a lot. Well,
Yeah.
to me, that's a lot. It may not be a lot to you, but that sounds like a
It's
lot. That's a lot of people you're
it's a
responsible
lot.
for.
Yes, and believe it or not, I think the hardest part of my job is people. Not because you have to deal with bad people, because obviously we don't hire bad candidates to work for the team, but
Mhm,
the overall different in personalities that like working with people is already hard as it is, but overseeing a large group of people like I do, it becomes a little more stressful for me. Now, let's say my operational items or things that I have to take care of in the restaurant, piece of cake for me. But when it comes to people, people requesting days off, or this person can work a certain shift, or this person's a minor and he can't work past a certain time. So that's when my job becomes a little bit more stress, because then obviously I have to maneuver myself around to see where I can accommodate, all the requests or things like that. And in order for me not to violate any policies, whether it's minor laws or working a certain amount of hours or stuff like that. So that has probably been the biggest challenge for me, but I feel like I can take on any challenge, which I have. So even though that was a challenge for me, check mark for that.
wow. So I am going to talk about the third party delivery apps such as Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, catering orders.
Hmm.
I'm bringing this up because I know by me being, food delivery driver, uh, you come in, you get the orders, and I always wanted to ask this question. So, Uber Eats drivers or DoorDash drivers, which one you like more?
What can I say? It's really hard to say because I mean, we have all kinds of parties coming in for pickup. Whether it's the same person that's picking up their food, or Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber. Um, I don't I don't really think there's any difference. And again, I speak for my restaurant. I'm not sure if the other restaurants run the same, but I know there's glitches in the systems, for DoorDash, Uber, and Grubhub that kind of affects us in a certain way, but to a certain extent as well. Um, but I can't really say that one is better than the other because of the fact that we do get a lot of delivery orders, and they're all through all different kinds of apps. Um,
Mhm.
so for me to pick a favorite, I don't think I would have a favorite. But at the same time, I think that the driver has a lot of responsibility. Um, Again, whether it's Chipotle, whether it's whatever restaurant it is, they have a lot of responsibility in obviously obtaining that food for the guests, and delivering it to the guests, not worrying about, I mean, obviously having to worry about, I'm sorry, um, in the weather or the traffic or the mileage or this and that. So I know it's a lot of responsibility that the drivers do have on their hand. Um, but I don't know. I feel like, since we partnered up with all of these apps, um, it's been a little less chaotic than it was before. We had all these delivery options, because obviously before people would order their food and go pick it up themselves.
Mhm.
And it would create this chaos of people, asking for other things while they didn't pay for them, or things like that. Little things that make a difference, because again, we have goals to meet, and having a guest come up to your line or whatever and ask you for their food, it slows things down a little. um so I thank God, I guess, for the apps, of the delivery apps that they've created and came up with, because it has really eased up the process of how we get these people in and out as well. But nothing's perfect, so every now and then we do have glitches where a delivery driver comes in, picks up an order, takes it, and then another delivery driver comes in, picks up this, tries to look for the same order. I'm like, no, that order was already given out and things like that. But aside from that, again, I mean, I can't really say that there's any negativity from the apps in our building. Um, it's just the minor glitches that would happen every now and then.
Okay. So I'm gonna, and you don't have, if you don't feel comfortable answering, I understand.
Mhm,
So when I was in Houston, I used to pick up at Chipotle all the time, DoorDash and Uber Eats. And, I'm on different, Facebook pages and on YouTube. And, I would read from Reddit, different places, right?
mhm.
And, Chipotle came, well, Chipotle was one of the companies that, quote unquote, okay, so if customers order through the app, some drivers thought that the tips were being taken from Chipotle. So if it was like bigger tips or whatever, and let's just say it was a $10 tip that the customer left, some drivers thought that Chipotle or the management on the on that side were able to take the tips from the drivers, but and you don't have to answer it if you don't
Mm.
want to, if you're comfortable. Would you say that's true or not true?
Not true. Chipotle, the structural overall ideas that Chipotle comes up with, they're very, very particular about how they do things. So I can say that there is an option for the, let's say I'm a guest ordering food from Chipotle. If I order myself through the app, I'm able to leave a tip. And that tip does go to employees for Chipotle. Now, if I order the food to be delivered to me, that tip goes to the driver because we have nothing to do with that. Just prepare the food and bag it up, and that's it. Um, so I know there's been instance where, let's say, a catering order, for example, they're able to tip, and the tip, let's say on a $500 order, let's put this as an example, they would tip maybe $50. That tip, we don't see any of it. I do believe that tip goes to the driver, because there is nowhere else where it would go to, since we don't receive any tips from that. So I'm not really sure how DoorDash, what agreements they have had with Chipotle in reference to that. But I do know that if a guest does order automatically through the app, through the Chipotle app, um, the tip does go to the restaurant, whatever restaurant of preference. But in the case that they ordered through Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, the tip goes, it's for specifically the driver.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think a lot of people now, when they watch this interview or discussion, um, they can have a better idea of tipping. Because I don't know if you are aware, but with the drivers, we've been having, battles with customers, not tipping or doing like $1 to $2 tips, and that's kind of unfair to the drivers because we use, and I'm one of them. So I use my vehicle. I stand in line to go and pick up your order, and for you to, and I get it, they pay high fees.
Yeah.
They pay service fee, then they had delivery fee, then they have, under you got to pay if it's under $10 or low minimum, short minimum, whatever it is. And then they have the sales tax, and then they have this, and then they have that. And it's like, it's too much. And so they figure, okay, well, I just paid all these fees. Why should I have to tip? Shouldn't the driver get part of that? And so it's been a big discussion. So thanks for like shedding light on that, because I always wanted to ask you, but I didn't know like how to ask you, especially me being up there plenty of times to pick up orders.
Yeah.
And then for the catering, because that was my next question too. So I'm glad that you went into the next question, oh well, the next discussion on catering, because I was going to ask you about that as well.
Hmm.
So wow, we've been talking for like 40 minutes. I love this.
Yeah, very interesting topics, huh?
So I am, well, what I would like to do within the next 10 minutes so we can kind of like bring this to a close.
Mhm.
Where do you see yourself 5 years, whether it's Chipotle or outside of Chipotle, and then where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Okay. That question has been asked to me so many times. I do believe Chipotle is my career job. I do believe Chipotle does offer that opportunity for me. Um, just working for the company, that chance of advancement with such ease is what I really, really kind of appreciate about the company. Um, how they just leave it up to you to determine whether you go up or you stay where you're at. So that to me has somewhat encouraged me to kind of pursue a career with Chipotle, because again, my movements have been quick. And I'm always eager. I'm always grabbing onto whatever I can. So my next step in the company would probably I'd probably say to become a supervisor in the company. Now, a supervisor, you might think, oh, you're doing the same thing. No. As a supervisor, you're overseeing not just one restaurant, but almost or probably up to 8 or 9 restaurants. So you're in charge of those individual restaurants, those individual general managers, and those individual people within that restaurant. So, and your performance is based on them. So if this restaurant is performing well, this restaurant's performing well, this restaurant's performing well, then you're performing well. But if they're not, you know, sorry, but you're underperforming as well. So it's a challenging job. It really, really is. But I feel like I have the capability. I feel like I I have the knowledge, and given that I've been with the company so many years, I have the knowledge of how the company runs and how the whole thing operates. So I don't really think it's going to be much of a challenge for me. But the only concerning part is, wow, these people or these restaurants are underperforming. That kind of hurts me as a performer as well. It's not just one restaurant. Hey, you're going to help this restaurant out, yeah, so that they can become this next great thing. But 8 restaurants, and it goes back to operations. So it's a challenge. It really, really is a challenge. So I do think that the next probably 5 years are going to be consumed into becoming that, and obviously taking on the role and performing within the role. But again, I want to become more. Um, Given though I've met with the team director, so my boss's boss, um, and how he oversees the whole region, it just opens up my ear to be like, hey, I got to think about this because I might want to become this as well. um, just imagine you being the top boss of maybe what 90 restaurants in the region. So it's a challenge again. It's a challenge that I'm willing to take and that I'm willing to accept. Obviously, I'm very strategic about how I do my movements. So I don't want to rush through things because I know that being a supervisor is going to consume my time a lot by a lot. So I do think I'm going to be spending quite some time as a field leader if I do become one, and then ultimately becoming the next big thing, which is a team director.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Before we go to a close, um, are you on any social media? Do you want to like shout out like any social media links that people can go and follow you or
Yeah, so I do have Instagram. I do have Facebook. My Instagram, anybody can, search me and look me up under love underscore life 1990. And the same thing for my Facebook. So all those are attached together. They're linked together. So either Facebook or Instagram, that's the best way to probably get in contact with me.
okay? Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to, kind of like give you this interview so more people, if they interested in being in management, whether it's at McDonald's, Chipotle, or any other restaurant, or in the food and beverage industry, they can now have like a visual of like, wow, okay, if I decide to go through,
Yeah.
McDonald's, or if I decide to go through Chipotle, okay, that would be interesting. This is something that I want to work towards. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And, now
Yeah.
that I,
I'm glad that I was able to put my insight on, my visions on working not just for again, not just for McDonald's or Chipotle, but in general. I do believe that again, everyone should give it their all, give it their best, because there's a lot of opportunities for growth. Whether it's the company that you might like or might not like, I think your work kind of speaks for you in the way that you perform. So obviously, the bigger ups are gonna look into that, and you will become the next thing. So no challenge is too much of a challenge. I think that's the kind of whole aspect of me sharing my story. Um, I do believe everybody should know what they're capable of, and should not settle for less. You know what you're worth. You can fight for what you want, and why not? Let it be within your work field or whatever it is that you are doing. Always try to pursue more because there's always more.
okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you watch this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Also to Doe Beverage channel on YouTube. Also Miko the Entrepreneur channel on YouTube as well. And I will see you guys on the next interview.
See you guys. Thank you.